Balaji. Thank you for your time for being here today. So to start with, I want to understand what's the thought process of Vodafone India Foundation behind uh, various initiatives in the education sector. Like take us through the journey, like when did it started and what all you have been doing, and then we'll talk about the way forward.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jumar, to you and your publication for inviting us over. I guess there are 3 or 4 things that I'd like to start with saying. First, Vodafone Idea Foundation, we have a very impactful clutch of CSR projects that we work on. And these actually overall come under a theme that which we look at is connecting for good or technology for good. That's the kind of philosophy with which we work. And the areas that we've chosen for intervention include women empowerment, employment generation, education is a very big focus area, including financial literacy, and also in the area of agriculture, where we think there's a huge role that technology can play in order to help small and marginal farmers. And likewise, our whole theme on education is around making sure that we can use technology to reach out quality education at all times to children from underprivileged backgrounds or in rural India where such facilities are not readily available, that we take for granted in our setup. So I think that's the broader context in which we work. And clearly, the values that we have are built around the strong foundation that both the groups that have kind of created this joint venture, the ABG group and the Vodafone group have. Again, the ethos is how do we create impactful, large social projects that are able to do good in society, and that is the nature in which we have devised these projects. And all of these, in one form or the fashion, have a few elements in common, and that's important for me to explain. Number one, it's built on a strong foundation of partnerships. We believe we focus on what we are good at. We then attract partners that help us to get the right impact at the project and the field level. And that means a very good understanding of what the end beneficiaries are seeking. What is the problem statement? What is it people are looking for? And how do we solve that? The second important pillar for our foundation projects are around technology. And since in technology, we have the ability of seeing that in our business side, we take a lot of those learnings and very rapidly integrate it in the solutions. For instance, chatbot integration, for instance, AI, machine learning, for instance, cloud-based services, for instance, IoT, right? So that's the other thing that you find as common. And the third element is around how do you use these pilots to get some good learnings, and then how do we scale it? So the way we do that is because we make sure that we understand the end beneficiary requirement well, we make the interface on the front end very simple. Whether in people on the ground giving training to beneficiaries, or if it's done online, the whole interface has to be simple for them, because that is how you help them adopt faster. And then the complex technology elements that we build on the back end allows to scale very rapidly. So you'll find that these 3 elements are common in our education platform, our financial literacy platform, or for that matter, the Smart Agri platform, which we will speak on some other day as well with you. And so that's the element that I want to say. Specifically on education, we've actually started this journey a few years ago. What we've done is to keep evolving on multiple fronts. One, sometimes the end beneficiary aspirations change, their requirements change. Sometimes external environment changes, like the pandemic. It meant something different. And when we have that, then we understanding this technology space well, how do we then create solutions that are ahead of the curve? So when the technology is catching up, we are also able to use that to create massive impact. And to give you an idea, just in the last 3 to 4 years, we've been able to reach out to about 13 to 14 million beneficiaries. That's a big number across the country, across states, including rural geographies. And that's how we've been able to use these elements that I spoke to you about and evolved ourselves. One last thing before I leave it for you to intervene is that we've always invested ahead of the curve. So we started deploying smart classroom solutions where we provide IT equipment. We actually provided teacher training and specialized content for STEM education in over 1,000 schools for 6 to 8, when such innovations were not being thought about, right? So now the education field has evolved with a lot of unicorns and all coming in. But at times in the social sector, in the rural areas where people are not looking at it, we basically brought that on the table. And we have continued to do that as a technology driven foundation, that we basically look at how we can have the underprivileged communities get the best as a stakeholder of our programs.
One thing I want to understand, while reaching the beneficiary, do you have any strategy or something to, shortlist the beneficiaries or to select particular schools where you'll be working on?
Excellent question, Jumar. We reach out to the people that need it the most, which is why I said the partnership becomes important. When we sit with our partners, social sector partners, sometimes we also reach out to state governments, central government as well, departments, just to make sure that we jointly identify with them where the impact will be maximum, where the need is felt the maximum. So it's a very collaborative and a very structured way we go about it, so that we are able to have the intervention done in the right places. Further, our teams, very motivated, they go out in the field, keep doing reviews of projects, how they're going, just so that we are also having an eyeball that as a should I say consortium of partners, that we are staying true to the basic belief that we need to reach out our solutions to the most needy, children or beneficiaries in the country.
In terms of teacher training, how do you decide what to train to the teacher, or probably the curriculum for the teacher training?
Superb. I think that's a great question. So what did we focus our energy on? Because when we spoke to these, we spoke to schools, we spoke to social sector partners, we spoke to children. And what we realized is that it should be fun to learn. Okay, that's the thing that we picked up very early. And so we, even today, of course, in the social sector and in many areas, if I would say forget about social, even otherwise, in the area of joyful learning, we are definitely one of the pioneers. Okay, we've actually come up with unique models. We've got solutions that, using our digital expertise and our experience with a good set of partners, we're able to enable anytime, anywhere learning. Again, that's an element that we've figured out is very important. Further, we figured out that we have to entirely address the ecosystem. It's not enough for just focusing on students. We've got to have something for the teachers, because without their involvement, it's not going to work. And so what we end up doing is we empower the teachers. We make sure that they are able to learn from each other as a community. They're able to often, we have some basic curriculum that we pick up, which is based on the state and the central government curriculum, digital elements on the portal. But we're empowering teachers to make sure they can reuse, repurpose, or develop their own content in their own language, keeping their own local situation. Right? So effectively, we're becoming hyper-local. By allowing customization in a hyper-local manner, we're able to help the children to learn better and faster, and we're making it easier for teachers to also then, tweak the whole thing rather than it being a standard content only. The elements are common, but how it is delivered such that the community is able to benefit the maximum, we give that empowerment to teachers. To us, that's a beautiful model that works very well, and that's the feedback we've got from our community of people that have use this particular model that we're talking about. If some statistics will help, we might just tell you this, that, since we believe the learning is dynamic, so we allow for this kind of a, hyper-local and customization by teachers. Due to this, our Guru Shala portal, which now has content from class 1 to class 10, right? So we said the need is from start to finish, let's do that. No point in doing half-hearted efforts. So we've got content for that. We have trained 50,000 teachers directly, okay, in digital design, in content development. Today, in a short time, we are able to benefit 1.6 million students. Okay. And Guru Shala has now therefore become the go-to platform for teachers and students alike. As of today, teachers also have gone up to 2.7 lakh. You've got communities that they can become a part of. So they learn from each other. There's a peer review process. All kinds of things happen there. Fun stuff happen there. Easy to engage with.
Okay. And do you also train teachers regularly on like new domains that are coming in like IoT, AI, ML? Do you provide them regular training so that they can, teach their students the same, because that is what the world is going forward?
Surely. Curriculum itself, the good thing is the governments are very, very
Right.
proactive these days. The education ministries and center and state are proactive. They're actually modifying the curriculum that also allows us to then organically change our should I say, content repository, right? So each of these elements for a particular topic, like you said, needs to be developed. We have some base content that we create. We work with the teachers, train them on ongoing basis, and then it works even better. Because we do this and we have demonstrated it at scale, we're able to now attract a lot of partners. You'd be very surprised to hear that Ericsson India approached us. They said, look, we'd like to even take up, establish some robotic labs. So in our Vodafone India Foundation, schools that are working in our network, we've actually started a few robotic labs. Now the teachers there therefore require, as you said, new topic, new learning. So we work with them to make sure that they're able to get adequate confidence in teaching those new concepts and using these lab tools for the betterment of the children and their future.
And what about the financial literacy? I mean, why financial literacy?
Wonderful point. So you see, again, this came up from a lot of research and feedback that we got, saying, look, there is some curriculum available on financial literacy, but it goes into saying very specific banking products, very specific savings products, and so on. It is not a comprehensive enough kind of should I say, repository of information, which if given in small doses, but with some diligence, then poor people who don't even understand the difference between simple and compound interest. Can you imagine? We know that 12% interest, simple interest on an annualized basis means what? We know what 2% monthly compounding means in terms of interest. But unfortunately, millions of people across the country do not know that. Because suddenly when you look at 2% compounding, it becomes close to 30-35% per annum, right? And they don't even know. Now, starting from there, how do I keep a simple Vahi Khata? Not a very complex one, but how do I say, what is savings? What is more like what we take as granted for recurring expenses, which is like operating expenses versus capital expenses, right? If people know the difference between them, they can start planning to save. They know how to plan their expenses properly. So that was the feedback we were getting. Boss, ऐसा नहीं है. तो हमने कहा चलिए बैठ के बनाते हैं. So we found a bunch of good partners. We sat ab initio, got a very good set of people that actually helped us to create the curriculum. The only thing we said is it should be simple to teach. It should be simple to understand for people who don't have literacy at all, even for them. That was the one thing. And how do we make it fun? Back to the thing about teaching, we said, let's use gamification as a means that will help people to understand that very easily. So our entire structure was based on feedback, but structured to bring simplicity to the whole concept. The moment you make it simple, then very tough financial concepts can be made available to people to understand in a very simple way. That's how we did it. And even the name, trust me, even the name, we went through many different iterations. And even, for example, Sanskrit word, Saksharas is one of them. And in the end, we said, look, if you want to make it simple for people to understand, let's use things that they know. So we said Jadu Ginni Ka. That's a good name. And Ginni then becomes our kind of a logo, just like in the earlier days, you had Abhishek Bachchan recognizable for Idea brand, or the Pugs with Vodafone brand.
Right.
So how do we create, Ginni as the protagonist who through multimedia in a cartoon kind of a form, if I were to say, or an interactive form, is able to teach those concepts to in a video format. So while on-ground teaching is done properly, at the same time, these kind of elements then make it very simple for people to understand. And so it's done on a simple storytelling basis. And today, happy to tell you that we have reached over 10 million people through financial literacy, and over 50% of our women. The reaction that we get from them when they get the simple understanding of saving, now I understand what I need to do for my child's education. Oh, now I understand what that guy was charging me as 2%. He said 2% interest. Like, now I understand, my God, it's 30% plus annualized. That eureka moment that they get, it just makes it all worthwhile for us.
So this is only on through on-ground activities, or you have a digital platform as well?
Excellent point. There is a digital platform. It is free multilingual, but actually we realize that on ground, because as you go in, unless the basic connect is there, it gets lost out. But there, what we do is don't create things that we need not create. If there are good delivery mechanisms in rural India, why don't we partner them and make it worth their while to work with us? That's the model that we use. So, for instance, we came up with this whole concept of saying hub spoke model, which means have vans with a driver and trainer potentially going to different parts in districts, going into rural, and then carrying with them the content in specially designed vans, which are small enough and compact to go in rural India, but have the IT equipment, large screen display, a computer, able to recharge using the vans, the van itself, providing connectivity, right? So people can have access to internet, and the trainer is able to use all of this content in a very unique manner. And as of today, we've already reached 45 districts of the country with intensive van-based programs. And our intention is in the next year to two, we'll probably even go more than twice that. We'll probably have 2.5x districts covered in the next 2.5 years. That's the kind of scale. And for this, we have tied up with the Common Service Centers, and you would have heard about that, Jumar, which is the IT Ministry initiatives.
Yes,
CSC. So we said if CSC is available and village level entrepreneurs available, why don't we make it available, this van? So when they go, they're able to now use this van. Earlier they were static in one location.
Right. Now they can
go around in the van. Unka business badhta hai. At the same time, they are targeted by us to run these training programs. Unka connect badhta hai, so automatically their earning goes up and our job gets done in a very cost-effective manner. So partnership, leverage each other's strength, core to our business of doing social impact, and therefore that's what we are focusing on.
And what's the way forward now in the education sector for Vodafone India Foundation?
So I think we've just scratched the surface. In our mind, imagine in a tough pandemic period, we saw adoption go even more and people staying engaged. I think the engagement part is what it is. So if we are now being able to get to 2.5 lakh teachers, 1.6 million students, we can only take this forward to the next level. We have many ideas, and I would just say, Jumar, that gives us the opportunity to maybe interact with you and Financial Express again in a couple of quarters' time. But we are evolving it, both from how do we make sure that we can, for example, how do we make sure that this community can also benefit from our scholarship portal? We have a scholarship portal, which has at the moment from Vodafone Idea Foundation funding, direct funding, provided 300 outstanding teachers with ₹1 lakh each, 3,000 deserving children in this pandemic period to get 15,000-20,000 rupees worth of scholarship. These are what we've done. But the scholarship portal uses AI, ML, and all kinds of things to make sure that lakhs of scholarships which are available, which are not known to children because they're underprivileged. So we just make sure we can do AI, ML-based matchmaking and enhance the chance of students to get scholarships 5 to 6 times. Okay. Because once okay, these are the criteria that donors are looking for, how do I match the children to make sure that they can apply for these scholarships well on time? How do I remind them from time to time so they do not forget? How to make sure that their parents are engaged in that journey? So all of these things, chatbot integration I spoke about, all kinds of things that we've done as one more add-on. So we'll bring all these assets to benefit the student community at large, and who knows, we will find new delivery models. We know that there are some more new delivery models which will provide even more intensive training to create the future of India more bright, right? So if I'm able to not just work in classroom, but I can also work in home environment with students, I'm just saying the concept.
Right.
In an equally effective and simple manner, then I can make them perform even better as students. So those endeavors are underway, and as I said, watch the space. We'll come back to you not very far from now, in a few months' time, on what further innovations we've done and how the innovations being received in the beneficiary community.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Balaji, for taking out time for us.